And Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Virtual House Church. Right now, I'm running solo. Jake and his wife, they're having their baby right now. So if you guys would please keep Jake and his wife in your prayers, that'd be awesome. I haven't heard any news other than it appears to be coming today. So keep them in your prayers. Kevin has taken an early retirement from his job, so he is out of work at the moment. And because things were going on with his job he didn't agree with, and he was like, you know what, I'm out. So that's part of the reason why Kevin hasn't been able to join us. They're in a bit of a transition stage right now, so if you would keep Kevin and Amanda in your prayers as well, that'd be awesome. And Juan Carlos has contacted me and said that he's running late. He's got something going on with his family also. So yeah, I'm on my own here today. If you're new to the Virtual House Church, I would invite you to go over to virtualhousechurch.com as our primary website. And then you'll notice that we are in the process of updating it. So half the site will take you to the new site, and the other half takes you still to this older site that was done back in 2012 and 13. If you're watching this on a mobile device, you could click on this picture right here. That'll take you to a mobile-friendly version of the website. If you're on a computer like I am right now, you click on this picture right here, and it takes you to our new and improved work in progress, the new website here. And just by way of orientation about us is about Sheila and I. The Virtual House Church store link takes you to a page where there's a calendar if you want to get on the Hebrew calendar page, and it's superimposed over the Gregorian calendar, so it's easy to read and understand. You know, the calendar we're all used to has the Hebrew calendar like overlaid on top of it, so you can see what month we are in the Hebrew calendar and when the feasts are and all that kind of stuff. You click on that. It's a free PDF you can view and or download for yourself. If you live in the United States, you can click on the domestic button, and you can order a printed copy that way. If you're outside the United States, click on the international button. If you want to check out Juan Carlos's calendar, it's slightly different. He keeps the Hebrew calendar slightly different than from the one that Kevin and Amanda put together. Click on that, free PDF again. You can view and or download that. And the workbooks, you can get them probably faster through Amazon, a little bit cheaper if you go through us. We are up to date on all of our orders, so if you have ordered anything, be patient. It's in the mail. We've been caught up for a while now and doing good with that. So all orders have gone out, but you can save a little bit of money, get all 5 together that way by ordering through us. If you'd like to get them instantaneously, you can click on the PDF version right there. You can view them and print them off and print copies off for your family or friends or anybody that might be meeting in your house or small group fellowship. And of course, the Ephraim Awakening DVD-ROM comes with all the resources you see there for you all in one disc. Our statement of faith is just about what we believe here. Coming Out of Babylon is a very comprehensive page. It has lots of things for you to either listen to or watch or read. What are we doing here? What's this all about? You know, are we preaching a works-based salvation? No, we are not. We are not teaching a works-based salvation. We are saved by grace through faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. We believe that. But there's lots of videos here that help explain what we're all about here. What's up with the dietary laws? What about Christianizing paganism and the what I call the beast feast now, Xmas and Ishtar Day and stuff like that. And of course the true holidays of Yahuwah according to the scriptures. So lots of videos and books and things that you can take advantage of there on the Coming Out of Babylon page. Torah Fellowship, this page takes a few seconds to load, but this is a plugin that I guess it's an app that 119 Ministries put together, showing people all over the world that are doing what we're doing here. We're doing this in a virtual environment, but here are people all around the world that you can interact with, possibly one-on-one. You know, go talk to people, actually. You can see there's a whole lot of people in the United States. I mean, you got to really zoom in to start finding spaces between these blue tags. You can just click on one. Let's click on this one right here. And that's somebody named Jeff. So you could contact them in Illinois and perhaps find somebody in your area that you can have fellowship with that believes the same way we do here. Of course, when we talk about the things that we talk about here, Torah and things like that, inevitably somebody will, quote something about Paul. So we've got a whole section here just dealing with Paul. What do we do with Paul? What about the writings of Paul? And Galatians, right? Oh, foolish Galatian. Really? Are you really a foolish Galatian for trying to obey Yahuwah? Here's a page that addresses that. Again, this page right here is just dedicated to the calendars. They are in the process of doing the new calendar, getting ready for the new Hebrew cycle that will start in the spring. But these calendars are still good for now. You'll notice that this page populates with some new stuff right here. Yahuwah's love letter. If you haven't heard that, I think it'll really bless you. Psalm 91, as read by my friend John William Galt, the voice of the movies, put to music. If you're stressing out about the times we're living in right now, this may put your heart at ease. Bible study tools. These are tools that I like to use online. BlueLetterBible.org, BibleGateway.com, Bible.cc, and Bible.is. The Aramaic English New Testament Bible by Andrew Gabriel Roth is another really great resource for you guys to check out. If you guys like to support what we're doing here, first of all, those of you who have supported us, thank you. We can't do what we're doing without people like you, and I truly mean that. So thank you so much. We truly appreciate anybody who has contributed to our ministry thus far. And, of course, other ministries that we enjoy, Torah Family by Steve Mutria, New to Torah, Zach Bauer, 119 Ministries, Unlearned by Lex Meyer and Jim Staley's teachings are right there. So lots of great resources for you to check out. And then every week I update this on Fridays usually to get them ready for Saturday. And that has the Parsha in 60 seconds, which Parsha is the Hebrew word for study. And we'll play that in a minute. And then the live stream, which is this video right here we're doing right now. And when we're done, it will, of course, archive here. And this page will stay like this for a week until next Friday when I update it for the new study. Then if you click on the click here for additional study notes, that takes you to our study page. Again, if you're on a mobile device, you can click on that. And it resizes accordingly to whatever device you're using. And these are the scriptures we'll be going over for this week's study. If you'd like to listen to them, we got them all embedded in the player here.
And Jacob sent messengers before him.
Click on that, and it takes about 35 minutes to go through all those scriptures right there. So let's go ahead and play the Parsha in 60 seconds. This distills just the Torah portion down to 60 seconds.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. Today's portion is from Genesis 32:4, 36:43. It is called Yishlach, which means "and he sent." As Jacob returned home, he sent many gifts ahead of him to butter up Esau. The messenger brought him news that Esau was coming to meet him, and Jacob was scared. He sent his entire family and everything ahead of him and stayed behind for the night. Coward. That night, Jacob literally wrestled with God, who dislocated his hip. Jacob would not tap out until God blessed him. God renamed Jacob Israel, where he had striven with God and with men and prevailed. The next morning, Jacob was reunited with Esau, and Esau met the whole family. Jacob was in Shechem when his daughter Dinah caught the eye of the prince of the land, who forced himself upon her. The prince wanted to marry Dinah, but the brothers knew what had happened and told Shechem the prince that all the men must be circumcised. Shechem agreed. On the third day, the men of the city were in pain. Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, killed all the men and took Dinah out of the city. God told Jacob to move to Bethel, and while there, God blessed Jacob, who is now called Israel. Soon after, Rachel died, giving birth to Benjamin. Reuben lay with his father's concubine, but Israel found out. Jacob reunited with Isaac at Hebron. Isaac died at an old age of 180, and Esau and Jacob buried him. Esau moved away because they both needed more space. And that is Vayishla in 60 seconds.
So lots going on in this week's study right there. People are, Kevin in the chat room was asking me to contact Zach and Darren from My House Ministries. I actually did. They're unavailable also, so it's like nobody's available to join me today, but that's okay. We got some stuff I can play for you today, and we'll see what happens. I think Juan Carlos is going to join us a little bit later, so by the time we're done with some of the other things I'm going to share, maybe he will be here with me. So, but yeah, in the future, just so you know, I did have some conversation with Zach and Darren, and they're excited to see the videos that I'm posting from 2017 when they did them on Now You See TV. As many of you may know, Now You See TV started taking down a lot of that content, and they've kind of shifted gears into a different direction. So they're a little bit bummed out about that. And I said, well, hey, listen, I'm reposting those videos now each week, accordingly from the shows you guys did in 2017, and I really enjoyed your commentary. So, it'd be really cool if you'd be interested in joining us here on the Virtual House Church. We'd love to have you. And they said, yeah, let's try to work that out. So that's on standby probably for the weeks to come. And also, Adam from Parable of the Vineyard, he does a home fellowship, actually physical fellowship at his house or somebody's house, I guess, every other week. And so if he's able to, if he's not being tasked with babysitting or something else, he said he would like to join us, also. So stay tuned. We should be having some other co-hosts join me here because, frankly, I'm sick of hearing myself. So I want to hear what other people have to say. So I'm excited to bring some of these other people on in the weeks to come. But for now, we'll do what we can for this week's show. Of course, other studies you might be interested in from 2012, the audio from that, the broadcast from 2013, the 2016 broadcast. This is the 2017 broadcast from Zach and Darren from My House Ministries. They did really good stuff. Again, this is this week's portion right here. And this is the Way Biblical Fellowship. This is Charlie and JP. And really highly recommend you guys check out these PDFs right here. I can't say it enough. I can't stress it enough. Click on those. You can view and download the PDFs. These are commentaries written in 2008, 2009 by Ardell from Your Living Waters, and I got to tell you, she has done an amazing job. Really deep studies. I mean, if you guys want to go into the deep end of the pool, those are the commentaries you definitely want to check out. So, highly recommend these. Download them. Keep them for yourself. Starter questions right here, the same every week to help get the gears turning, regarding this week's Torah portion, how it relates to the portion from the prophets and from the New Testament. And these are all the chapters that Joshua parallel this week's Torah portion. I'm going to update this right here, this portion of the webpage after we're done, because we'll see where this broadcast goes. There wasn't too much other than that from previous years to include here. Of course, these are other resources for you to check out as well. So, we know this is the Torah portion where Jacob wrestles with the angel, and if you click on the scripture references, it takes you right to the Bible Gateway pages that would have all those scriptures there. So, speaking of Parable of the Vineyard, I mentioned this a few times before, this video that Adam did called The Angel of Yahuwah. And, since Jacob's wrestling with the angel in this week's Torah portion, I figured, I'm just going to go ahead and play this video right here in this week's Torah portion. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Get rid of this commercial first. And here we go.
Is the angel of Yahweh, commonly referred to as the angel of the Lord. The angel of Yahweh has, currently does, and will continue to play a significant role within the scriptures and future prophecy. This angel called out to Abraham from heaven, stopping him from sacrificing Isaac, spoke to Moses in the burning bush, withstood Balaam, led Gideon, appeared to Elijah, interacted with King David, smote the 185,000 Assyrians in one night, and many more profound appearances. Some might say he's Michael or one of the other archangels, alongside many other theories. Today, it's time we found out, and I'd like to share a few points to consider. The evidence at hand and who it points to may shock you. Shalom and welcome, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to talk about the angel of Yahweh, who he is, and so many things surrounding this topic. I pray that you keep an open mind. I pray that you take this information to the Father in prayer, and I pray that it blesses you. Keep an open mind, and let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be basically just reading for you a written study that I had conducted yesterday. I actually didn't even plan on doing this, but as I was going through the Torah portion, I really felt like the Most High was giving me kind of a nudge to go ahead and put this study out. It's something that I've been thinking about for years, and I know some of you have actually reached out about the identity of the angel of Yahweh. And today, I pray that through the scriptures and information that is shared, that it is confirmed with you as well as to the identity of the angel of Yahweh. So as we heard in the intro, this is what was already read for you. So just kind of some of the things surrounding it. So let's just get through this. Let's go through this study together, and you can find this at parableofthevineyard.com/angel. So let's start with Exodus 3, where the angel of Yahweh appears in the burning bush. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a thorn bush. And he looked, and behold, the thorn bush burned with fire, and the thorn bush was not consumed. And this is Exodus chapter 3, verse 2. Here, Moshe encounters the angel of Yahweh. Let's see what he says. Let's see what the angel of Yahweh says. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the thorn bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. So did you catch that? The angel of Yahweh is synonymous with being Elohim, which we know most frequently as God. We will get back to this in a moment. So continuing, and he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off your shoes from off your feet, for the place whereon you stand is holy ground. And that's Exodus 3:5. So holy ground, take your shoes off. This is not standard practice for an angel to demand this. Where have we seen this before? Only one other time. And it came to pass when Yahusha, and this is Yahusha the son of Nun, so as we know, Joshua, was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Yahusha went unto him and said unto him, Are you for us, or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as the captain of the host of Yahweh, which the host means like army, but as captain of the host of Yahweh am I now come. And Yahusha fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, What says my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of Yahweh's host said unto Yahusha, Loose your shoe from off your foot, for the place whereon you stand is holy. And Yahusha did so. And again, this is Yahusha or Joshua 5:13 through 15. This is the only other instance of a prophet being asked to take his shoes off, being in the presence of a divine entity and on holy ground. We cannot ignore this. For identification purposes, let's look at the Hebrew word for captain. And when I say identification purposes, identifying who this angel of Yahweh is and this captain of the host, the captain of his army. So the Hebrew word is sar, and you can see that it was translated it's used 421 times, and it was used 208 times as prince, captain, chief, ruler, governor, keeper, principal, general. And here are its uses / definitions: prince, ruler, leader, chief, chieftain, official, captain, and there's many other, head of princes, ruler of rulers. So regardless of the exact definition we go with, it's clear this angel is the leader of Yahweh's army, his host. Interestingly enough, the book of Revelation tells us plainly who this leader / captain is. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judges and makes war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. So a couple things to glean from this. This leader of the army, because you can see the armies followed him, and typically the army will follow the leader. And so this leader is called the Word of Yahweh, and this is Revelation 19:11 through 14. So this leader is none other than our Messiah, Yahusha. I'm very thankful that the title, the Word of Yahweh, was used, as we will expound on this in a moment. But let's finish up with Exodus 3. So what did we glean from this? What am I getting at? The captain of Yahweh's army, of his host, is none other than Yahusha, Messiah. We'll go further into this. So Exodus 3. Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of your father. And remember, this is the angel of Yahweh speaking. I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yishlach, and the Elohim of Yaakov. That's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Mitzrayim, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And that's Exodus 3:6-7. Notice the angel of Yahweh proclaims he is the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. At this point, you may be saying to yourself, Yahusha, Messiah, cannot be labeled an angel. He's much higher than this, which I agree. But let's not forget that the Hebrew word for angel means, or can also mean messenger. The Hebrew word is malak, and it was used 214 times. 111 times it was translated as angel, and 98 times as messenger. And you can look up this word and how it was used for yourself, and many times this word malak was used for a human person that was acting as a messenger or an emissary or things like that. It also translated as ambassador and whatnot. So the biblical usage was messenger, representative, messenger, angel. And here, malak, from an unused root meaning to dispatch as a deputy, a messenger, specifically of Elohim, i.e. an angel. Also a prophet, priest, or teacher, ambassador, angel, king, messenger. So my question is, was or is Yahusha a messenger sent from Yahweh? Let's go through some scriptures. For I came down from heaven not to do mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. That's messenger language, right? He that sent me. And that's Yehukanon. That's John 6:38. Another one, Yahusha said unto them, my food is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. And that's John 4:34. I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which has sent me. As the living, that was John 5:30. As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats me, even he shall live by me. And that's John 6:57. You know these interesting words that he eats me. We also do know that Messiah Yahusha is the Word, and we know that we're to consume the Word. We know in Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 8, and this is one of the lines that Messiah had, or one of the verses that Messiah had quoted to the devil when the devil was like, "Hey, if you're hungry, turn these stones into bread." And Messiah said, "It is written, for man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh does man live." And so Yahusha essentially is declaring that he is the Word, and that people may live by consuming him. Next one, I have glorified you on earth. I have finished the work which you gave me to do. Right? So the Most High, the Father, gave this work to his Son, Messiah Yahusha. And now, O Father, glorify me with your own self, with the glory which I had with you before the world was. I have manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world. Yours they were, and you gave them me. And they have guarded your word. And that's John 17:4-6. So, what can we glean from all that? Truly, Yahusha, our Messiah, was sent by Yahweh, our amazing Father. He accomplished his marvelous work and was and still is the most important malak, messenger, ever sent to us. Thankfully, once again, Revelation gives us more understanding, as Yahusha is the angel of Yahweh. And I'm going to back this up further. He's not an angel, right? So it's not like an angel like Gabriel or Michael or even one of the multitudes of the different classes of angels. So he's not an angel, but the angel, right? And there's a difference. So it's much like Sukkot isn't a feast, but it's known as the feast. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little sefer, that's a book, open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And that's Revelation 10:1-3. So one could make the case that an angel, perhaps even one of the 7 archangels, could come down with a cloud, a rainbow, feet as pillars of fire, and perhaps even have a face shining like the sun, which these are all attributes given to Messiah. However, Revelation 4-5, the throne room scene, makes it abundantly clear that Yahusha alone was given the book to open, which we see here in his hand in this passage. This mighty angel is Messiah Yahusha. So now I want to go back to the very first time the title of the angel of Yahweh is introduced, which is in Genesis 16. This is when Sarah casts out Hagar from their midst. But Abraham said unto El Sarai, Behold, your maid is in your hand, do to her as it pleases you. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of Yahweh found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, whence came you? And whither will you go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And that's Genesis 16, 6-8. Then this happens. And the angel of Yahweh, right? This is who's speaking. The angel of Yahweh said unto her, I will multiply your seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And that's Genesis 16:10. So I'm quoting here, I will multiply your seed. Angels, even archangels, don't speak in this manner, as if they themselves makes things happen, but the angel of Yahweh does. This cannot be discounted. I'm familiar with the term and use of agency, being that angels can act as emissaries of Yahweh and speak to people on his behalf, yet there is still a major difference with how the angel of Yahweh speaks with authority. Next, Hagar associates the angel of Yahweh as Elohim, God. And she called the name of Yahweh that spoke unto her, You, El, see me. For she said, I have also here looked after him that sees me. That's Genesis 16:13. So here Hagar equates the angel of Yahweh as being El, God. We could end the study here, as I believe the evidence is quite clear. However, this year has brought about a profound aha moment in my walk, and I want to share as it pertains to this study. For whatever reason, probably all in Yahweh's timing, I have stayed away from the Aramaic Targums until very recently. Upon reading them, many confirmations in general have come about, but especially to the topic at hand. We will be taking a look at this same passage in Genesis 16, but in the Aramaic Targums, which Targum simply means translation. So we're going to be looking at the Aramaic translation. And Abraham said to Sarah, Behold, thy handmaid is under thy authority. Do to her what is right in thine eyes. And Sarah afflicted her, and she escaped from before her. And the angel of Yahweh found her at the fountain of waters in the desert, at the fountain of waters which is in the way to Hagra. And he said, Hagar, handmaid of Sarah, whence comest thou, and whither dost thou go? That's again Genesis 16, this Aramaic Targums. Now here's where it gets very interesting. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, Behold, you are with child, and you will bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because thy affliction is revealed before Yahweh. And he shall be like the wild ass among men. His hand shall take vengeance of his adversaries, and the hands of his adversaries be put forth to do him evil. And in the presence of all his brethren shall he be commingled. Yitharbeb, Arabized, basically I think just saying that he became the Arab nations, and shall dwell. Now listen closely. And she gave thanks before Yahweh, whose word spake to her. And thus said, Thou art he who livest and art eternal, who seest but art not seen. For she said, For behold, here is revealed the glory of the Shekinah, the presence of Yahweh, after a vision. Again, this is still Genesis 16 in the Aramaic Targums. This passage unequivocally clarifies that the angel of Yahweh is the Word of Yahweh. Most of you reading this already know, or not reading now, listening, most of you reading or listening or watching this already know who the Word is, but let's solidify this concept as it gets really, really interesting. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So this is like power-packed little passage here. So that's John 1:1-3. And of course in John 1:14, I didn't include it here, but it continues to say that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So the Word became Messiah Yahusha as we know him, and came and dwelt among us. So I love this passage. It clarifies the pre-existence of Yahusha, his title being the Word, his divinity as Elohim, God, and the often debated topic of the father-son dynamic, which we fully believe that there is a literal father and son. I may do a follow-up on this, expounding on evidence that it was Yahusha, the Word, who has been interacting with mankind all along, starting with Adam. Here are just a handful of the nuggets backing this line of thinking found within the Targums, which have quickly become a treasure trove. And the Word of Yahweh created man in his likeness. In the likeness of the presence of Yahweh, he created him. Male and his yokefellow, he created them. So this is just simply backing up what John 1:1-3 already said. It says everything that was made, there was nothing that was made that wasn't made by him or through him. So it was truly the Word that created man. That's Genesis 1. And a garden from the Eden of the just was planted by the word of Yahweh, Elohim, before the creation of the world, and he made there to dwell the man who he had created him. So Genesis 2 says that the word, so Messiah, created Eden or planted Eden. And then here in Genesis 3, and they, this is Adam and Eve, and they heard the voice of the word of Yahweh, Elohim, walking in the garden in the repose of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from before Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. So this is backing a thought process that myself and many others have postulated, that it was Messiah, Yahusha, from the beginning, in the garden, in the cool of the day, many other instances, and this confirms that. There is so much more to share about this, but for another time, let us take a quick look at the covenant made with Avraham. Thereupon was the word of Yahweh with Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, for if these men should gather together in legions and come against you, my word will be your shield. And also if these fall before thee in this world, the reward of thy good works shall be kept, and be prepared before me in the world to come, great exceedingly. So this is a famous passage in Genesis 15, kind of thoroughly explained. And in Genesis 16, and Abram was the son of 99 years, and Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Serve before me and be perfect in thy flesh. And I will set my covenant between my word and you, and will multiply you very greatly. Genesis 17, Aramaic Targum. This is monumental for our understanding that it truly was Yahusha, our Messiah and mediator, who has been with us and interacting with the patriarchs and prophets since the beginning. This Torah portion cycle, it's been put on my ruach, my spirit, to study the Masoretic text, which you know as the KJV, the Sefer, the TS 2009, the ESV, many others, alongside the Septuagint, that's the 200 BC Greek manuscript, the Dead Sea Scroll findings, and now the Targums as well, which are estimated at 450 BC. However, but of course not according to Wikipedia. So if you go according to what Wikipedia says, then it's not. But we're used to that. I mean, the Wikipedia and generalized theology have shot down the Apocrypha, books like 2 Esdras, 2nd Baruch, Jasher, Jubilees, and many others. So we're used to this. This Aramaic Targum translation is turning out to be a great study tool to test alongside the aforementioned text, gleaning a much better understanding. The passages above make the dynamic of the covenant clear. It has always been with Yahweh, the Father, through his Son, Yahusha, always. His Son, the Word, has been the one interacting with humanity ever since the beginning, and he declared it right here. This is when he's talking to the Pharisees. And he said unto them, You are from beneath, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. I said therefore unto you that ye shall die in your sins. For if ye believe not that I am he, ye shall die in your sins. Then said they unto him, Who are you? And Yahusha said unto them, Even the same that I said unto you from the beginning. That's a very bold statement, and something that you might not catch otherwise without thinking about really what he's saying here. And he's basically saying what I've said unto you and to your fathers ever since the beginning. The beginning is the Hebrew word is Bereshit. I know this is Greek, but he's referencing Bereshit, Genesis, the very beginning, the first book of the Torah. So he's basically saying, I'm the same person that's spoken unto you since the very beginning. pondering on who it was on Mount Sinai with Moshe, and who formed Adam from the dust, and who stood before Yahusha, Joshua, as he bowed to the earth, and who it was that spoke to the prophets when they said, and the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying. I mean, think about like Jeremiah and Ezekiel and, all these different instances where it said, and the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, who was that? Who came, right? And many more scenarios. It was Messiah all along, doing the will of the Father. This is a concept that myself and close brethren have been discussing for a few years, but now with plain revelation by the word. Remember, according to Messiah Yahusha, no one has seen the Father. And here it is in John 1:18. No man hath seen Elohim at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. So when did the Son declare him? When did the Son declare the Father? So just a little note here. My words, my commentary essentially will be in parentheses in the next passage that we read. So this is a very famous passage in Exodus 34 where Moses is like, show me your glory. And he's like, no, I can't. So no one will see my glory and live. So I'm going to hide you in this rock. I'm going to put you in my hand. I'm going to hide you in this rock and you can see my back parts. Really, really interesting passage. But with everything that we've studied so far, let's take another look at this. So, and Yahweh, so again, parentheses is my words, Yahusha, not yet revealed, descended in a cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of Yahweh, right? So he proclaimed him, he declared him, right? So remember he said up here, the only begotten Son hath declared him. So, I'm sorry, we'll go again. So, and Yahweh, Yahusha not yet revealed, descended in a cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of Yahweh. And Yahweh, Yahusha not yet revealed, passed by him and proclaimed Yahweh, Yahweh El, merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression of sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and upon the children's children, unto the third and to the fourth generation. And Moshe made haste and bowed his head toward the earth and worshipped. That's Exodus 34, 5-8. So what just happened? Either the Father came down and proclaimed himself in third person, right? So he's like, when he comes down, he's like, Yahweh, Yahweh is this. And so he either came down and proclaimed himself in third person, the Father, or his Son did so, which is what I'm leaning towards. Again, according to Messiah, who has never lied, no man has ever seen the Father, including Moshe. Truth is, Yahusha came down proclaiming Yahweh and has been doing so and has been with us since the beginning. Goosebumps moment, right? So, remember, this is the angel. We're going back to the burning bush scene here. So remember, this is the angel of Yahweh speaking. And Elohim said unto El Moshe, Ahaya, Asher, Ahaya. We know it as I am that I am. And he said, thus shall you say unto the children of Yashrael, Ahaya has sent me unto you. And Elohai said moreover unto El Moshe, thus shall you say unto the children of Yashrael, Yahweh Elohai of your fathers, the Elohim of Avraham, the Elohai of Yitzchak, and the Elohai of Yaakov has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my mention unto all generations. Which, by the way, side note, some people say that he's referencing Ahaya, Asher Ahaya, but he continued to speak. He said, moreover, he said Yahweh Elohai, so the Yahweh is his name forever. So, any case, so what we had here is the angel of Yahweh. Remember, this is the angel of Yahweh, commonly known as the angel of the Lord, right? Speaking and saying that he is Ahaya, Asher Ahaya, I am that I am. So, drum roll. Yahusha said unto, this is him speaking unto the Pharisees, right? Yahusha said unto them, Amen, Amen, I say unto you, before Avraham was, Ahaya, I am. And that's John 8:58. So yes, it was Yahusha, the angel of Yahweh, who declared, I am that I am. While I'm still testing the Targums, the excitement level reminds me of 2015 all over again, when the Ruach HaKodesh revealed, well, many major truths, but two major truths, true scriptural cosmology, Effie, and the everlasting Torah. Praise be to Yahweh through his Son for revealing truth in these last days, which has become more delectable than earthly food. Behold, Adonai, this is the book of 2 Esdras, also known as 4th Ezra. Behold, Adonai, I will go as you have commanded me, and will reprove the people which are present. But they that shall be born afterward, who shall admonish them? Thus the world is set in darkness, and they that dwell therein are without light, for your Torah is burnt. Therefore no man knows the things that are done of you, or the work that shall begin. But if I have found grace before you, send the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, into me, and I shall write all that has been done in the world since the beginning, which were written in your Torah, that men may find your path, and they that which will live in the latter days may live. Amen and hallelujah to that. So, P.S. Here's a little something here. P.S. There has been a movement within this movement, which I don't even know what you call this movement, Torah observance, right? I'm not one for boxing us in with names. Some have strayed away by denying Messiah Yahushua. So some people say, just Messiah hasn't come yet, or there is no Messiah, or Messiah is just David. There's a whole bunch of different things. So with all that we studied today, let's bring this home and give ample evidence to those who have gone another way, mostly due to a misunderstanding of the dichotomy of the Father, Son, or Yahuwah, Word of Yahuwah dynamic, and misapplying I am Yahuwah and there is none else. And here's where the Targums really shine. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verses 21 through 25 in the Aramaic Targum translation. Tell ye and draw ye near, yea, take counsel together. Who hath declared this from ancient time? Who hath told it from that time? Have not I, Yahweh, which again, remember what we were saying here is the word Yahusha, not yet revealed yet. And there is no Elohim whatever beside me, a just Elohim and a Savior, there is none but I. Now listen closely. Turn unto my word and be ye saved, all that are at the ends of the earth. For I am Yahweh, and there is none else. I have sworn by my word. So Yahweh, who says there is none else, saying that there is also his word. I have sworn by my word, the word has gone forth in righteousness from my presence, and shall not fail, that before me every knee shall bow, every tongue shall swear. Surely he has promised to bring me righteousness and strength by the word of Yahweh. In his word they shall offer praise, and all the nations that are incensed against his people shall be ashamed. Now listen. In the word of Yahweh all the seed of Israel shall be justified and glorified. Now, if that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't know what else does. So maybe you can share some of this insight with some of your brothers and sisters that you may have seen that have gone astray and have denied Messiah Yahusha. Again, mostly due to the multiple statements of I am and there is none beside me. But again, mostly that is due to Yahusha not yet being fully revealed yet, and this whole understanding of the word of Yahweh, who he is, and the angel of Yahweh, who he is, I think really busts that deception wide open. So that's why I wanted to put this in here as kind of a PS. So may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. So, PSS, if you're going to test the Targums for yourself, I recommend, I don't know, okay, I got to do some editing here. I recommend reading the Jonathan Ben Uziel version rather than the Onkelos one. You can find it here for free at the targum.info, Targum text. So, one last passage is one of my favorites. Thus says Yahweh, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glories glory in this, that he understands and knows me, that I am Yahweh, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, says Yahweh. So, brothers and sisters, I pray that this was a blessing for you. I pray that your eyes may have been opened to the truth of who the angel of Yahweh is, the Word, Messiah Yahusha, who's been with us from the beginning. So, blessings to you, and may Yahweh bless you and keep you. Shalom.
Sorry about that. I had the microphone muted there. Should be good now. All right. Yeah, that was a really good video that Adam put out from Parable of the Vineyard. I thought, why not, instead of just referring to it all the time, might as well just play it here. We have in this week's Torah portion the Jacob wrestling with the angel. And if you missed it, you should check out the Quest for Truth episode I did with Zen this past Wednesday. because we're a little bit behind in our study on Genesis because we're going a lot deeper, kind of line by line through it, and we were in the portion of Genesis where the three angels come to Abraham right before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we read from the Targum, we read from the writings of Abraham, and from the legends of the Jews, as well as from the King James. And in the King James, it really looks like one of the three angels is the angel of the Lord, Yeshua, as Adam's pointing out here, because if you read the text, it specifically says in the King James, L-O-R-D, capital L-O-R-D, which is when the King James translators replaced the name of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And so that's not what the two angels that go to Sodom and Gomorrah aren't referenced that way. Neither do they receive any form of worship. But in the dialogue that Abraham has with one of the characters, it would say, and Yahuwah said this, and Yahuwah said that, and Abraham's, he's begging, well, if they're 50 righteous, if they're 40 righteous, he's having the whole barter system. He's going our bargaining system that he's doing right there, I should say. But when we read in the other text, the extra biblical text, the Hebrew commentaries, it names the three angels as Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. And Michael was there to give the news to Sarah, and Raphael was there to help heal Abraham because Raphael's an angel of healing, and Abraham was still recovering from the circumcision deal that he did, and also he was supposed to take out Lot and his family, Raphael, and Gabriel was assigned to wiping out Sodom and Gomorrah, but when you keep reading, you see that a fourth character shows up, and that's Yahuwah, or Yeshua, as the angel of Yahuwah, showing up there in the dialogue. So if you missed that week's study, go back to this past Wednesday upload that I did, the live stream I did with Zen, and you can see more on that. It was a fascinating study, but I really appreciate that video that Adam put together, and people are asking in the chat room if Adam's going to join us here. And yes, like I said earlier, he does a home fellowship every other week, and the off weeks he says, yeah, if I'm not having to babysit or do other things, I would love to. So yes, expect to have Adam join us here eventually, as well as perhaps some other guests, and we'll see if we get Zach and Steve or any Lex or any of those other guys to join us as well. In the meantime, I am excited to see that Juan Carlos has joined me, so I will welcome him onto the broadcast here. Hey, Juan Carlos, how are you, man?
Doing good, Rob. Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, Shabbat
Finally
Shalom.
here. It took me a time, but I am here.
Better late than never, they say, right?
That's true. And I was taking a look in the beard of Adam, and I'm looking very alike to mine, to my beard. So
cool.
So we don't have Adam now, but we have a similar beard.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts on this week's Torah portion, or half Torah, or New Testament sections?
I think you already covered something really important with the video of Adam, and we discussed this, I think, last week and the previous one. I think, this encounter was so important because there was an important change that happened in this point, in this encounter, that Jacob received a new name. Mm-hmm. After wrestling with Elohim. And actually it is really important in the way that it's written, because it says that he called the place of this battle Penuel. Mm-hmm. And this is basically because he battled face to face with Elohim. So he's declaring with these words that he encountered Elohim. And this is totally aligned to what you were showing in this video of Adam, that this is really, really nice. And actually, I had a brother contacted me a few weeks ago that I owe him a call to discuss more in details about this topic. But he was exposing the same thing. And that most probably, you told me, Rolf, it was my case as well. I was finding and seeing this truth from many years. So it's important to as I think Adam mentioned in this video, if I remember well, to open our mind to receive more truth, and to understand what is the Malach Yahuwah, the messenger of Yahuwah, the angel of Yahuwah, that is clearly see as Adam depicted in the video. But what was important in this portion, in this encounter, that Jacob started a completely new life. Mm-hmm. And this is so important because, and actually I have several notes here with me, and I will jump exactly to this point. It's about the overcomers. And there is a so important and interesting connection to what happened in this moment between Jacob and the Malach Yahuwah, the messenger of Yahuwah, and what is written in Revelation chapter 2, verses 17. Let me jump directly to this passage, because it is written in Revelation chapter 2, verse 17, the following: "To him who overcomes, I shall give some of the hidden manna to eat, and I shall give him a white stone, and on the stone a renewed name, written which no one knows except him who receives it." So, this is exactly what happened with Jacob in this encounter. He overcome this battle. He wrestled with Elohim, as is written here. There's a different interpretation about the name Israel, that it could be Yasharel. That is basically, this is a right dwell, or rightful, tzaddik, a righteous dwell. But, any of the two interpretation is so significant that in this case, the overcomers, if we overcome in the same way that Jacob overcame, we are going to receive a new name in the same way that Jacob received a new name. And what is my understanding of this? What it means to receive a new name? When we receive the first time a new name, when we're just born during our birth. So we receive our name in the first days of our life in this world. So what does it mean, and what is the connection between a new name and the scripture? Is basically the connection that I see, and is so important, is the new birth, is to become a new creature, is related to our transformation and our restoration. And that's why this connection that I see with Revelation chapter 17, and is the message that we need to understand from this, from the important point that we need to understand from this portion of the parasha, is about to become an overcomer. In the same way that Jacob was an overcomer, we need to be an overcomer in order to become a new creature and to receive this new name. So just to complement what you shared in this video, Rolf, for me, that point was a critical one to understand, and the connection with the new birth, the new name, and to overcome in front of in order to inherit all the promises, to overcome in order to inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. So I don't know if you want to comment on this, Rob, before I share other points.
No, nothing specifically on that. Good stuff, man. I did have. Okay. I watched the video that Zach and Darren did from My House Ministries in 2017 when they were hosting the virtual house church, and they brought up an interesting point when Esau's approaching, and by this time Jacob had accumulated quite a bit of wealth, but when he cheated his brother, he took off running with the clothes on his back, like. He cheated his brother out of birthright and blessing, but he ends up leaving with nothing. He's got nothing. So during his time, the time of Jacob's trouble, he accumulated a whole lot of stuff, and then when he finally approaches Esau, it's almost as if, and I had never thought of this before, but they brought up the idea was Jacob paying Esau back. Even though Jacob didn't actually take anything physically from Esau because he left with nothing, all of the blessings that Jacob should have received from his father Isaac, flocks and land and things like that, he almost ends up giving back to, offering it back to Esau there. I think Esau rejects it. I think if I remember in the story right, he's like, listen, bro, I've got everything I need, but thanks. But I could be wrong about that. It's been a while since I looked at it. But I just thought, wow, it's interesting. there was a time of reconciliation between the two brothers. Of course, if we read the Joshua account, we see that Esau was approached by the angel, and I don't know if it was the angel of the Lord, but angels basically said, yeah, what you're intending to do, don't do it, bro. And he had an angelic humbling before he met with his brother, and he's like, yeah, it's all good, man, it's all good. But I just thought it was kind of neat that that whole idea of thinking that maybe Jacob was paying Esau back there, not just
somehow.
not just trying to bribe him.
You know what? Sorry.
Yeah.
No. I was telling you, Rob, that that's an important point, and it's connected to one of the insight that I wanted to share today. And just one point to what you said. At the end, Esau took the possessions, the gift from Jacob.
He did.
He didn't want to take it, but Jacob was pushing him,
Uh-huh.
and at the end, it seems that he took it.
Okay, yeah.
So in this point, and it was one of the point that touched me a lot when I was studying this morning. And I usually put a title on the inside that I want to share related to the portion, and what I wrote here in my notes is basically the following: to serve Yahuwah, we must renew our mind and become a new person, a new being. And why this is so important, and I will explain just in a minute what I'm referring to this. But before connecting to the Torah portion, what I'm talking about, what is to serve Yahuwah? We need to renew our mind and to become a new person. And I want to share the two passages in the letters of Paul, Shaul in Hebrew. The first one is in the book of Romans, chapter 6, verse 4. And it says the following: we were therefore buried with him. He's speaking about Yahushua HaMashiach. Buried with him through immersion into death, that as Messiah was raised from the dead by the esteem of the Father, so also we should walk in newness of life. For we have come to be grown together in the likeness of his death, we should be also of the resurrection. So what Paul, Shaul, is talking here is basically that our walk needs to be in a new life. And he's repeating this in the book of Ephesians. And as I said, I will explain in a moment what the point I want to make related to the portion. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 21 to 24. And also he's speaking about Mashiach, Yahushua HaMashiach. And it says the following: if indeed you have heard him and were taught by him, as truth is in Yahushua, that you put off with regard to your former behavior, the old man, being corrupted according to the desires of the deceit, and to be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the renewed or the new man, which was created according to Elohim in righteousness and set apartness of the truth. So these two passages of Paul, Shaul, are fully and totally connected, that in order to serve Yahuwah, in order to walk in this path, we need to do it as a new person. We need to do it with a renewed mind. If we do it with our old mind, we do it with our old me, it's not going to work. How I see these two passages and this title that I was sharing with you today, with the portion of this week, I see it in two passages, in two steps. First one is related to the offense, guilt, and also fear. All of those things and all those emotions needs to be completely removed and needs to be removed fast. And this is really important because we see it in this portion in the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verse 6 and 7. And we see this behavior in Jacob because it says in Genesis chapter 32, verse 6, so the messengers returned to Yaakov. You know, in the whole story, that Yaakov basically sends some messengers, people, in order to go to the place, to Seir, to Mount Seir, to a place where Esau dwelt, in order to tell him that Yaakov was coming back with his family, because Yaakov was afraid of his brother. So he sent some people in order to let him know that he was coming, and he has a lot of riches and so on. So the messenger were coming back, and this is exactly what we're reading now in the verse 6 and 7. So the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men with him. And what was the reaction of Jacob? It was the following in verse 7. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. So he divided the people that were with him and the flocks and herds and camels into two groups. And and we see exactly the same behavior in the verse 11 when he was praying to Yahuwah. Because in his prayer, he said, deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he come and shall strike me and the mother with the children. So what was in the heart of Jacob and that moment? After almost 20 years, and more than 20 years most probably, that he departed from his father, after all this story that happened between the birthright between Esau and Jacob, after all these 20 years, this fear was still in the heart of Jacob. And and most probably it was a huge offense in his heart related to everything that happened with his brother and so on. So can you imagine that after all these 20 years, that emotion was still in the heart of Jacob? Mm-hmm. And somehow it needed to be removed. And we saw the entire situation, and connected to what we were discussing before, only after he prayed to Yahuwah, only after he started to understand that he had this fear, and he was looking for Yahuwah to help him, is that this fear started to release. And just to do a parallel to what's going on to us, and everybody is going through difficulties in life. Nobody's free of difficulties. Sometimes it can be small ones, sometimes it can be a huge one. Sometimes we can think that we cannot survive and continue life because of the huge difficulties that we need to face. And sometimes it needs to happen many years in order to remove those emotions from our heart. But what is important, and the point that I see here, and it touched me really hard, really much, is that we need to do our utmost effort in order to remove those emotions from our side, in order to remove that fear, in order to remove that offense. Because if we are not able to remove that one, we are not gonna be able to receive the blessing. Mm-hmm. The blessing that Jacob received during this wrestling with the messenger of Yahuwah and receiving a new name somehow was related to treating this emotion and this fear to his brother. And we need to look for forgiveness, and also we need to forgive. This is exactly what happened between Esau and Jacob in this portion. And actually, Shaul, in the same book of Ephesians, chapter 4, is talking exactly about this in the chapter 4, verse 30 and 31. And it says the following: and do not grieve the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit of Elohim, by whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. And let all bitterness and wrath and displeasure and uproar and slander be put away from you, along with all evil. So why Shaul, Paul is saying all of this is basically all of those emotions, all of those fruit of the flesh needs to be completely removed in order for us to become and to be able to serve Yahuwah as a new person with a renewed mind. And even to this point, Yahushua HaMashiach also says something really important. And this is in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 23 to 26. And this is Yahushua doing exactly the connection of the point that I'm trying to make. He said the following: if then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, this is basically worshiping Yahuwah, serving Yahuwah, bringing a gift to the altar, to the slaughter place. And he continues saying, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you. Leave your gift there before the slaughter place and go. First make peace with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. And you know, in this word of Mashiach, when I was reading this morning, was touching my heart so much. Because sometimes we are in our day-to-day, we have some problems with people. It could be family, co-workers, or whoever it is. And we don't take to mind that, if we want to have this connection and this relationship, close relationship with Yahuwah, and to worship him with our spirit and truth, but we have some bitterness, and we have something that is unsolved with somebody else, that connection is not going to flow entirely. It's the same that happened with Yaakov. And we were discussing a few weeks ago, Rob, as well, and we were to potentially something similar happened with Abraham, with the situation with Lot and the father of Lot, that Abraham needed to go through an entire process of many years before receiving the promises of Yahuwah and receiving the covenant. And with Yaakov, it happened exactly the same. Yaakov used to call Yahuwah the Elohim of Yishlach and the Elohim of Abraham. But at the beginning, he never called him his Elohim. After all these encounters and after all these situations, he started to call him his Elohim, because something changed internally in Yaakov's hearts and mind, and also something changed externally because he was coming back to the promised land. So in these words of Mashiach, it's clearly see that this is an important topic for all of us today, especially with everything that's going on today. People are very furious and angry, with a lot of anger, and people are in distress. So having problems everywhere is so easy nowadays. But we need to understand that we need to solve those issues as soon as we can, because we can create this offense. We can create this fear, we can create this guilt inside us. So we need to remove it right away. Because even Yahushua, if we continue reading in Matthew, in the following verses, in the 25 and 26, in the chapter 5, it said the following: be well-minded with your opponent promptly while you are on the way with him, lest your opponent deliver you to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Truly I say to you, you shall by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. So those are so strong words from Yahushua in order to reinforce what he was speaking about, not worshiping Yahuwah before solving a problem with a brother. And we see this amazing pattern exactly in this portion. And actually, an important point to mention, because it's going to be connected to something that is coming. I'm going to share it in a moment. I was reading the book of Jubilees, and the book of Jubilees in this portion mentioned that this encounter between Esau and Jacob was before Jacob was crossing the Jordan, the Jordan River, before going to the Promised Land. Mm-hmm. So if the situation was like that, all of this reconciliation, all of this removing of the fear and the guilt and offense happened before crossing to the Promised Land. And somehow is echoing the words of Mashiach, that we need to solve it as soon as possible, because if we don't solve it, more bad things can happen, and we're going to have this burden within us. So that was the first point that I see related to renew our mind and to become a new person. The second point just to complete the picture, is that we need to remove, and this sounds really basic, but it's so important to repeat it all the time, that we must remove all type of idolatry from our lives. And we see this clearly in this portion, that is something in addition that Jacob did. This is in Genesis chapter 35, verse 1 to 7. And this is really important because this is the moment when Jacob was preparing himself in order to go and worship Elohim, in order to go and to serve Yahuwah Elohim. So it is said, starting in the verse 1 in Genesis chapter 35. And Elohim said to Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make a slaughter place there to El, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother. And Jacob said to his household, and to all who were with him, put away the foreign mighty ones that are among you, and cleanse yourself and change your garments. So just to do a parenthesis here, this is so representative to what we are living today. We need to remove all the foreign mighty ones. We need to cleanse ourselves, and we need to change our garments. We are waiting for this new garment that we are going to receive as part of the transformation and resurrection. It's going to be a new body without sin. That is what is written here is so representative to us in our days. So continuing the verse 3, and let us arise and go up to Bethel, and let me make there a slaughter place to El, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone. So they gave Jacob all the foreign mighty ones which were in their hands, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree which was near Shechem. And they departed, and the fear of Elohim was upon the cities that were all around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. And Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built there a slaughter place, and called the place El Bethel, because there Elohim appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother. So we see here the second part, removing the idolatry, removing sin from our lives before going and to be entitled and to be ready to serve Yahuwah Elohim. And we see the first step, the reconciliation, removing the fruits of the flesh, removing the offense, removing the fear, removing the guilt, forgiving. And the second step, removing all type of idolatry in order to be entitled to serve Yahuwah. And we can think that, in this life, we are not going to be perfect. And that's true because sin is in our flesh. But it's an amazing passage in the book of Yishlach, the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 18, that is said that the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, that is increasing until the day become perfect. And we know that this is exactly what we need to do. This is a path that we need to walk in a day-to-day. It's a path that, we need to examine ourselves in a day-to-day basis. And if we see that, we find any kind of idolatry, that we are going to be, Yahuwah will be opening our eyes and ears and understanding every day, and we are going to be able to see more. So the important thing is that we are able to see more, and we find something that we need to remove. We need to make the immediate decision to remove it in order to walk in this path of righteousness, in order to become perfect. And we know that the perfection is coming at the day of the second coming of Yahushua HaMashiach, and the day of our redemption. And it's something that, just to close this topic, that is connecting all of this, and it's in the words of Shaul, the words of Paul, in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. And it says the following: I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to Elohim, your reasonable worship, serving Yahuwah, to present ourselves to serve Yahuwah, to worship Yahuwah. And the verse 2 says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of Elohim. So we need to renew our mind. We need to become a new creature. We need to walk in newest of spirit in order to serve Yahuwah Elohim. You know, Rob, just to stop for a minute, this point touched me so much, and I wanted to share it in so many details, because exactly what I mentioned at the very beginning. We all go through difficulties in life. I don't know if somebody that is watching now and hearing this broadcast is going through some kind of difficulties. If you are doing it and you are going through the difficult times, and you know, we are all somehow living in difficult times now in this world, we need to understand that we have Father. We have Yahuwah Eloheinu with us, and we have Yahushua HaMashiach, our King, beside us, and through them, we are able to overcome in order to receive all the blessings. So that's one of the points that I wanted to share, Rob. I don't know, you want to make some comments here.
Oops, sorry, I had my microphone down again. Yeah, good stuff, man. Really, really good. You made several points here. Yahuwah is now Jacob's El, not the El of his fathers. And so, okay, this is important here, dude. Because you are now going to be my representative. And, he had a lot of flaws. He had a lot of things that he, did wrong. But I think that this whole issue of forgiveness before going into the promised land is massive. That is so huge. And I think most people, and I've talked about this a number of times on other broadcasts, but maybe it bears repeating. A lot of people, when we think of forgiveness and those who have hurt us, we are so hurt and we are so angry, and there's all this emotion surrounding whatever was done to us, that we tend to have this attitude, they don't deserve my forgiveness, right? Like as if you're getting them back by being angry with them forever. And what I had to learn myself when I was going through the most difficult time of my life and dealing with the people who had hurt me was that forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you, the one who was offended.
That's right.
It's not for the offender. It's for the offended, right? The person who was hurt. The person who is the offender that did the hurting typically doesn't care. They've gone on with their life. They don't care that they hurt you most of the time. They're gone on. It's for the one who was hurt. Why? Because the byproduct of forgiveness is peace. If you don't forgive, you don't have peace. You have turmoil. You have continuing anguish, anger, frustration, hurt, pain, suffering. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. I had to realize that, and because I don't know who taught us this, if it's just our default setting or if we learned this somehow. I don't know, but it seems to be very few people understand this until you really explain it to them. The whole idea that forgiveness is for you, the one that was hurt. And I came to realize that, and I've told the story before when I was going through my divorce and all the pain and everything of realizing my now ex-wife was, out sleeping with somebody else, and all that, that goes along with it, and all the pain that came in that environment. I went to the scripture-based self-help program, and the way they explained it was, okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little exercise. And we were in a little small group of 5 people, and there was another woman in that small group with me that they said she's going to play the part of, I'll just say my ex-wife, I'm not going to mention her name. You're going to play her. You're going to play her, and your role is just sit there and not say anything. So this other woman had to play the part of my ex-wife, and she couldn't say anything. And what my job was to do was to look at her visualize her as my ex and recreate the scenario, like regurgitate the offenses. You did this, you did that, and when I did that, I mean, as soon as you go into that mode, all of those feelings come back. Like, and for that moment, that poor girl was my ex. I was very angry and was laying it out. And then the next part of that was, after I had identified the offender and identified the offense, I had to make the conscious decision to forgive her, and then say the words, say the offense, say the name, say the words, I forgive you. And I got up to that point where I had certainly recreated the pain. I had regurgitated the offenses, but I couldn't get the words out, I forgive you, because I was still, she doesn't deserve my forgiveness. I was in that mode, And the trainer knew that, I'm a stubborn, thick-headed Polak, okay? It takes a lot to get through this thing. They said, okay, fine, pick up your chair. I'm like, pick up my chair, whatever, fine. So I pick up my chair, and I'm holding it out. And they stuck me in the corner, and then they went on to deal with the other people in the group, and they just left me there holding my chair. And each person, it takes 15, 20, 30 minutes to get through their issues. So they go through the other 4 people in the group, and they come back to me, and I'm still holding the chair. Now, after all this time, holding a chair like that, it got pretty heavy after a while, and I'm compensating, I'm using my knee, I'm putting it on my head, I'm just, taking all my frustration out on the chair. And the trainer comes up to me, and they said, why are you still holding your chair? I said, because he told me to. And they're like, well, look at your arms, they're shaking. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they're like, do they hurt? I'm like, yeah. Do they burn? Yeah. My arms are killing me right now. And they're like, Rob, what do you think all that forgiveness is doing in your heart? It's killing you. It's burning you up. It's destroying you. You are hurting yourself by not forgiving her. And, intellectually, I got it. I understood the point. I still couldn't get there. And they said, well, you know what to do, but we can't make you do it. It's something you're just going to have to do on your own. And I left that program, and then this was in Texas, and I went back to Massachusetts, where I was still living at the time. I was going back and forth from Texas to Massachusetts to attend. It was a 3-weekend deal. And in between the first and second weekends, I went back to Massachusetts, and I was at a fairground with 140,000 people there. And I went into a Subway store to get a sandwich, and I walk out, and boom, I run right into her. What are the chances, right? Well, 1 in 140,000 people.
Exactly.
It blows up into this huge fight, right there in the middle of the fairground, and right in the middle of this big fight, I just said stop, because all I could think of was that stupid chair, that stupid chair in my head. And I grabbed her hand. I said, look, just stop. I took a deep breath, and I said, I forgive you. And she goes, for what? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm like, oh man, I could have given a laundry list of things that she did wrong. But that's when I realized she doesn't care. In her mind, marriage was just a piece of paper. We signed a contract, and she nullified the contract. And so in her mind, when I had gone away on a business trip, she took that piece of paper, went to an attorney, nullified it, got a separation agreement, and then went off and do whatever she wanted to do. So in her mind, she justified, hey, I'm fine, I'm good to go. Forgetting the contract that we made before our friends, family, and God Almighty, right, Yahuwah, when we took our vows, forget all that. She just saw marriage as a piece of paper that she nullified by another piece of paper, and so she felt justified in doing what she did. But all that said to me was like, okay, she's got her own issues. She's going to have to work on all that on her own. And I also learned that hurt people. Like, if you don't take the time to get forgiveness, to get the healing that you need yourself, well, all you're going to do is pass on that hurt to somebody else. You're going to, and I got to apologize to my audience here on YouTube, because one of the comments in, I think it was the 2016 broadcast from this week's Torah portion, I just looked at one of the comments, and somebody said, you seem really angry. I was like, yeah, probably was, And, look, I'm not perfect. I'll just say, don't judge a man till you walk a mile in his shoes or spend a week in his shoes. A lot of people understand this, but a lot of people don't. Look, I get attacked all day, every day, 24/7 by somebody. Somebody's going psycho on me somewhere, all the time. And I'm a fighter. I'm like hardwired because as a kid from 5th grade into my high school years, I was beat up almost every day. I was a skinny kid, and I had bullies around me, and bullies look for weaker people to pick on, and so I happened to be the punching bag for several people from the course of 5th grade to high school, and that lasted up until I think it was my junior year in high school. I was in the hallway talking to this girl I really liked, and one of the bullies came by and knocked my books out of my hands and kicked the homework and stuff down the hallway, and everybody laughed, including the girl that I was talking to, which really embarrassed me and everything. So when I finally got everything back together, I get to the next class. He was in that classroom, and as he usually did, he walked by me and smacked me in the back of the head before he sat down. And I just lost it, man. I was like, okay, that was years of abuse just pent up. I just snapped and went crazy on the guy. I threw him over one of the rows of desks and stuck him in a bookshelf and started kicking the snot out of him. Just yeah, until the teacher finally pulled me off, and then we both had to go to the principal, and we both got in trouble and stuff. But then later, because his wall locker was right next to mine, he came up to me, and he was like the nicest guy ever. After I beat him up, and everything changed for me at that point, because the bully who had picked on me for so long no longer picked on me. And not only that, the other kids in the school, when they found out Rob beat up the bully, nobody picked on me again. So that ended all my troubles, right? Problem solved. Well, no, not really, because the solution that I came up with as a kid, as a young person, became the problems I deal with today as an adult. Like, now I'm like, okay, if I have the presence of mind to think about it, you smack me, I might turn the other cheek. Maybe. If I think about it long enough, I might turn the other cheek. You hit that one, you're going down. Like I snap. And what I realized is pain, whatever that pain is, whatever your pain is, it freezes you emotionally at the age you were when the first offense took place. So I'm 51 years old, but I don't respond as a 51-year-old. I respond as a 6th grader, when a trigger goes off like that. And in video, we have what they call timelines. When you're editing video, you can have timelines. We can stack videos on top of each other and edit it. And if I'm authoring a DVD, I can put what's called a chapter marker. I can mark a section of the video with a chapter marker, such that when you push the button on the remote, it knows to skip the playhead to that chapter marker. Okay, well, you've heard the phrase, man, he really pushed my buttons, right? This person's really pushing my buttons. Well, what does that mean? That means they're pushing the trigger points that are moving on your timeline to a chapter in your life where it triggers you, and I've had to come to realize, and this is why I have to apologize to my audience, because I am angry a lot because I get attacked a lot. And when I get attacked a lot, I feel like that kid that needs to stick somebody in a bookshelf and kick the snot out of them so I can get on with my life. The problems that I had, the solutions I came up with as a young person are the problems I deal with as an adult. So this is a good broadcast for me because it's a little bit cathartic and therapeutic for me to go through this and say, listen, I've got to do this forgiveness thing like every day, because there's always somebody going psycho on me. And I just need to realize, look, they don't care. Forgiving them, that they don't care. They're going to do it anyway. If I forgive them, though, I have peace. I can go on with my life. And when my ex did that to me at the fair, when she said, "For what? I didn't do anything wrong," I'm like, okay, forgiveness is for me. Forgiveness is for me. I just walked away, and I made it a point, like until I got it. And how many times must I forgive my brother, right? Peter's asking this. I don't know this for a fact. This is my assumption, but I tend to believe that Peter may have had problems with Matthew. Because think about it. You got a businessman and a tax collector, forced to hang out together, right? I have a feeling that Yeshua was very strategic in the people that he picked and put together and stuck them because they all had things to grow. They all had things they needed to learn,
I think so.
And that might just a theory. I don't know, but just a theory. How many times must I forgive this guy? 7 times, is that cool? Yeshua was like, no, 70 times 7. And I don't believe the rule is 490 times. I think the rule is as many times as it takes until you get peace. That may be 490 times an hour. And for me, like, I understood the principle intellectually, but I had to internalize it emotionally and spiritually. And what that looked like was every night, man, I had to just like name the offenders, name the offense, and say, call them out and say, I'm alone in my house, in my apartment, just like, I forgive you. And I had to keep doing that until one day I realized, you know what? I think I'm there. Because, we're supposed to pray for our enemies, right? And in my time, when she cheated on me, that, I was like, I pray she dies of syphilis. I hope she reaps what she sows, Yeah, those aren't the kind of prayers you're supposed to be praying, Yeah, get her. No, it was.
It's so difficult, Rob, when you are going through the problem,
dude.
It's so touched emotionally that you cannot think in everything.
No, you can't. But when I finally got to the point where I could, like, just legitimately pray for her health, her well-being, and then she eventually married the guy that she left me for, and that was like, Father, I have tried to be her covering even through all of this, because I believe through our marriage that I was that covering. And she walked out from under that covering, but now she's bound under another covering. And I'm like, Father, can I be released now? Like, can I get out of this thing here? And he released me, but I had to release myself, from the bondage that I was putting myself into. And I knew that I had arrived when I could talk about the event and it didn't make me angry. It didn't make me sad. It didn't bring that ugly feeling in your gut. It was, hey, wow, this is a part of history that has formed me into the person that I am today. Hopefully a better person, for it. But so when you can move from a position of pain, hurt, anger, sadness, all that, to a position of, well, this is history. I have peace with this person now. I have moved on. I have forgiven. Then it becomes a testimony, and funny, the word testimony, it starts with the word test. Yeah. You have to have a test to have a testimony. Which usually it's a test of moaning. That test of moaning becomes a testimony. On the other side of it, and when I finally got to that point, then I was in a position of a not a hurt person, because if I didn't get there, then I would have passed on that hurt. And just like the bullies, I now I look back and I believe probably they were probably abused at home. They were, hurt people. So, the people that were beating me up every day probably were being beat up themselves every day. And so then you can move to a position of when you move to a position of compassion. It doesn't excuse what the other person did, but it helps you to realize, they're hurt. They passed on that hurt. I've forgiven them for that hurt. Now, Father, please heal them. Like you genuinely start to pray for their healing and their well-being. And this is the kind of stuff that you have to do before you go in the promised land, as evident in this story. Anyway, that's a long, drawn-out testimony. Maybe somebody can use it out there, but also wanted to explain to people why, if you see me snapping on Facebook, whatever, by the way, I'm in Facebook prison again for 7 days. They kicked me out again. I can't do anything. That's why. I mean, look, I'm not a perfect person. I got issues too. People are regularly abusing me, so 90% of my Facebook comments are reactionary, but whatever the hurt is, first learn that you need to heal. You need forgiveness for yourself, so that you can get healed, and then so that you don't become a hurt person that passes on the hurt.
No, that's an amazing testimony, Rob. And it's going totally along to what I was sharing on this portion. And that's why it also touched me really much because, as I said, all of us were going through difficulties. A few years ago, I also went through a very difficult moment. And, it's the time that we see miracles. The big offense was started within me, my heart, around 3 years ago. And, suddenly I receive a book from Amazon. That I live in Chile, so I have colleagues that will live in the US and flying time to time to Chile. So I used to buy some stuff and asking my colleagues to bring it to here. So he brought the stuff to the office and started to unpack everything. And I take one of the packages was an envelope. So I took the envelope. I took out what it was inside. And it was a book called The Debate of Satan.
Oh yeah, good book. That's a good book.
And I started to look the book. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't order the book. Later I started to take a look in the order of an Amazon. Maybe I did a mistake or something like that. It was a free gift. I don't know. There was nothing in the order. So I got this book. And what was the curious is that my colleague told me that when they receive the things at home, they usually put that in the front door. And the envelope was open. So he didn't even want to touch it. And they were somehow afraid because an open envelope, it could be anything. So they saw a book, so they were calm, and he brought the book, and they didn't buy the book either. So I started to take a look in the book, and I didn't understand a thing. I started to reading the book, and it was talking about the offense and how to forgive and things like that. It was impossible in front of my colleague to start crying. And it was my daughter as well with me in office at the moment, because it was exactly what I needed to read, was exactly what I needed to receive. And it came from heaven. I didn't order it. Nobody ordered it. It wasn't in any order in the systems. It's just somebody put it. Yahuwah put it in the hearts of somebody. I don't know how it got there, and it was in my hand. And that book helped me so much during that period of time, and it's helping me as well so much because, as you said, Rob, all of us are different, and none of us is perfect. So those are the two things that we need to realize always. But in our imperfection and in our differences, we need to realize where are the areas of our lives that we need to work, and we need to do it in a day-to-day basis. It's like I was sharing in the book of Proverbs. This is the path of the righteous. We are becoming a righteous people, the righteous nation of Yahuwah. So in our day-to-day walk is that we need to analyze our lives. And at the moment we find something that is not okay, something that is wrong, we need to make a bold decision and remove it immediately with compassion, with forgiveness, and connected to what I was saying at the beginning, because those things are a prerequisite in order to be able to serve Yahuwah, like the Kohanim, like the priests. They needed to be clean with a special cloth in order to go to the Kodesh HaKodeshim, to the Kodesh place, to the set apart place, without any spot. So it's exactly the same thing in our lives. We're going to become kings and priests in the kingdom that is coming to the earth. So in order to be prepared for that, this is the moment to walk in this path of righteousness, to remove all this guilt, all this offense from our side, in order to be able to serve Yahuwah. And one point connected to the same thing, Rob, and is the second point I wanted to share, is that in this portion we see the process. Jacob shows us the process, and it's basically emunah, faith in action. And what I'm talking about If we read the entire chapter, the 32, between the verse 6 and the verse 21, we see what Jacob did. He did at least, I have it here, 5 things. And those are the 5 things that is basically faith in action. Is the pattern that maybe we can follow. And what the first thing he did, because he was afraid from his brother. So the first thing he sent messengers in order to go and talk to his brother. So he did an action. Second thing he did, he divided the camp. He was so afraid that he took an action as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, if he's coming, let him to kill at least one and not the entire family, not the household. The third thing is the most important thing. He prayed to Yahuwah. And I think this is the moment that things started to change to Yaakov. And actually I want to read the prayer because it's really, really important. This is in the chapter 32, verse 9. It says the following. And Yaakov said, O Elohim of my father Abraham and Elohim of my father Yishlach. This is the point that I was making before. He's not talking about my Elohim. He's talking about the Elohim of my father Abraham and the Elohim of my father Yishlach, Isaac. Yahuwah, who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I do good to you. I do not deserve the least of all the loving commitment and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I passed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 groups. And by the way, just to do a parenthesis, one of the points that I wanted to make here. This is a complete foreshadow of the division between the 2 houses of Israel. Yaakov made the decision to divide in 2 groups. And this is a foreshadow of the division of the 2 houses. And if we take in consideration what the book of Jubilees is saying, that all this encounter with Esau happened before he crossed the Jordan, he crossed back the Jordan, the Jordan River to the Promised Land, is so significant because it's so totally connected to what's going to happen in these times. The 2 houses coming together. Now they are separated. Now we are going through the process of reconciliation. We are going through the process of cleansing and removing idolatry and removing fear, remove offense, in order to cross the Jordan, and go to the Promised Land as one people. So continue in the prayer in the verse 11. It says, "Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him." So he was acknowledging that he was afraid. And this is something that we need to do in prayer to Yahuwah when something is going wrong in our life. We need to acknowledge this exactly as you were sharing in your testimony, Rolf. We need to acknowledge what's going on within us. Lest he come and shall strike me and the mother with the children. For you said, I shall certainly do good to you and shall make your seed as the sand of the sea, which are too numerous to count. And we know what happened later on. So we see in this prayer a lot of tips and points that we need to consider always in our prayers to Yahuwah when we're going through difficulties. So before praying to Yahuwah, what he did, he took an additional action. He sent gifts to his brother. And the last thing he did, and I think that's the most important one, is exactly what you did, Rob, in your testimony. We need to humble ourselves. And this is connected to what you said about the forgiveness that Yahushua taught. Yaakov humbled himself. He bowed down 7 times to Esau at the moment of the encounter. So Yaakov went through different steps. He put faith in action. He was not only praying to Yahuwah, he was looking for deliverance, and that's an important point. But also he was taking the actions in order to save the family at the same time that he was believing on the deliverance of Yahuwah. He was fully afraid, but he was believing, and also he was taking the proper action in order to see the deliverance of Yahuwah. And he complemented all of that with a humble spirit, to humble himself in order to find the forgiveness that and removing this fear from his heart. And we see so many passages, in the scripture that a few of them, and just to mention, is that we need to cast all our fear in Yahuwah, all our burden in Yahuwah. So this is exactly what we see here Jacob doing. So casting all the problems, all our fears, all our difficulties to Yahuwah. And we know also there are passages in the book of Psalms, in Tehillim, that we need to wait on Yahuwah. But waiting it doesn't mean that we need to wait in a passive mode. We need to wait in Yahuwah being active, as we see here in this portion of Jacob taking the actions. I always bring this topic to the table about emunah and faith on the situation of Moshe, when he was facing the Red Sea. All the people complaining, all the people afraid because the Egyptians were coming in order to kill them. Some of them wanted to go back to Egypt. One of them wanted to fight. Other want to fall into the sea in order to die, and so on. But what Moses did, he prayed to Yahuwah. He was asking for direction. And what was the answer of Yahuwah? Why you pray to me? Go, take your rod and divide the sea. So what's faith is basically believing in Yahuwah, praying for deliverance, but also taking the action, waiting in Yahuwah in an active mode, not in a passive mode. So this is important. And I saw some comments in the chat, and this is really important. We see the fear of Jacob in this case, and we are commanded that the only one that we have to fear is the one that is able to destroy our entire body, our flesh, our being in the Gehenna, in hell. Who is that? In my first years in church, I usually understood that was Satan. That's not Satan. The only one that can kill us and destroy us completely is Yahuwah Eloheinu. So our fear is to Yahuwah. So that's why we need to count on him. And every time that we have these emotions and the fears, we need to cast that burden in him in the same way that Jacob did. And I feel so much important to share this one, Rob, because the days that we're living are crazy times. Mm-hmm. And what's coming to the world is going to be even more difficult. And there's an important foreshadow here, because even in this prayer, we see Jacob telling Yahuwah, you told me to return back to the promised land, to return back to my fathers. So we see this foreshadow that at the moment he decided to go back, and just let's think in ourselves, the process we are in today, turning back to Yahuwah, waiting for the promises, waiting for the amazing second Exodus in order to inherit the land. So we are exactly in the same process and the same pattern that Jacob did in this amazing portion. So he was telling Yahuwah, you told me to go back, and I'm going through different distress. Help me, because I fear. He had the problem with Laban, his father-in-law. Now he needed to face his brother, the same brother that wanted to kill him. A lot of fear on Esau. And we know that in this portion also we see what happened with the people of Shechem, when Shimon and Levi killed everybody. And Jacob was again afraid because he thought that everybody was going to fight with him. So we see an important pattern. And that when we decide to go back to Yahuwah, when we decide to walk in this path of righteousness, things are not going to be easy. And why are not going to be easy? Not because the way of Yahuwah is a difficult way. No, because the environment and everything that is around us makes us difficult. So we need to understand that we are going through difficulties now, and with the situation of the world, we will go through more and more difficulties. So we need to follow this process. Because when we see difficulties around us and we know that we are walking in righteousness, those difficulties are a testimony that we are walking in righteousness. We are walking in the narrow path, because the narrow is the way, and it's very difficult, and it's very hard process. These are the words of Yahushua. So, but what's the important thing is at the end there's always a blessing. And this is what we see even in the testimony of this portion. Jacob received the blessing of the overcoming, the blessing of waiting and asking Yahuwah for deliverance. And it's exactly what was going to happen to us. No matter that it's going to come difficult times in the near future, we need to understand that if we hold fast to the hand of Yahuwah and we follow this process of faith in action, and we remove the idolatry, if we remove the offenses in our heart, Yahuwah will help us. And at the end, it's going to be blessing if we overcome. Just to finish my comment here, Rob, there are multiple things to talk in this portion, but I know that we are on time now, but just to finish this comment, there is a passage in the book of Kohelet. This is Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 8, that I was sharing with some people in my job this week in a very nice way, subtle way, in order to bring light to some people. And it says the following in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 8. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. So this is one of the promises we need to take hold in our heart. Maybe at the beginning wasn't that good. Or maybe it was good. But even with this promise in the book of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet in Hebrew, that the end of the matter, it will be much better. And what's going to be the end of the matter and the end of this path that we're walking now is eternal life. It's going to be the promises of Yahuwah in his kingdom. This is what we need to think, and this is our north. No matter that everything is falling apart around us, we need to hold fast on those promises that Yahuwah is within us. And if we took the decision to return to Yahuwah, to do Teshuvah, to walk in this narrow path, in the same way that Jacob did, Yahuwah will be with us. So, I like it so much, this portion, Rob, and as I said, this really touched my heart, and I hope I was able to transmit what I got from Father during the study, because for me this is a really important point now in these days that we're living.
Yeah, a lot of good points you made there about, is this a prophetic, the division of the two houses? Never thought of that. Like, wow, and if it is a prophetic of the division of the two houses, then before the end times, or maybe as a result of the end times, Israel as a nation needs to ask for forgiveness, right, of Esau. They need to apologize. Say, you know what? I'm sorry, bro. And he bowed 7 times. Is that a coincidence? 7 times, 7-year tribulation period. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe there's something to that. But
yeah,
it's really making me think. Like, wow, that's that could be pretty profound. And yeah, I like that passage in Ecclesiastes you pointed out there too. The end is better than the beginning thereof. The trials and things that I've been through in my life, I would never want to repeat, and I wouldn't wish them on my worst enemy. But I'm very thankful for them, because the ending of those things has been wonderful for me. You can't get that when you're going through it. When you're going through whatever the issues are, it feels like the end of the world. It feels like the end. And one of the things I had to realize is and somebody told me this, they said, Rob, don't put a period where God put a comma. You think this is it. This is the end of the sentence. No, it's a comma. He's going to continue this. The advice one of my mentors gave to me was, Rob, I know you're hurt. I know you're angry. I know you want to act out. I know you want to get people back. Stay the course. You stay on the straight and narrow path. Let Father deal with them. You do what you need to do to get right, to get healed, to get on the right page with the Father. Let Him heal you. And I saw a bunch of people in the chat room that were resignating, and people are going through difficult things, and relationships and divorce and things like that. There are people out there who, like Paul, I believe, have the gift of singleness. They're called to be single, to be celibate, whatever. I think there are people who are called to that, and I believe that those who are called to that don't have all of the let's say, needs that the other people have. The Father has relieved them to go about in that task. There are other people who, like myself, I need to have somebody in my life. I had people telling me, Rob, singleness is a gift. I'm like, well, can I take it back? It kind of sucks. I don't like it. Singleness is a gift. Get out of here. I don't want to be single. I hate being single. But they were right in the sense that was my season to strengthen my relationship vertically. I was looking horizontally. I need that person, to fulfill me, and you may have seen people talk about relationship diagrams where you see it's like a triangle where Yahuwah's at the top and you have a man and a woman, at the bottom. And the more the two focus on the Father, what happens to them? They get closer together, right? If all your focus is this way, she's not meeting my needs, he's not meeting my needs, what happens there is a barter system breaks down. Well, I'm not going to do this for her because she's not doing that for me. Well, I'm not going to do that for him because he's not doing this for me. This barter system, when you're looking sideways, it breaks down and you end up going further apart. But if both of your focus is on Yahuwah, and Father, change me, make me the man, the son, the brother, the father, the husband that I need to be, work on me. Well, if I'm focused up like that and she's focused the same way, what's going to happen to both of us? Well, we're going to come closer together as we get closer to him. And that was a hard season for me to well, he's spirit. I need flesh to interact with, and I started praying. I'm like, Father, I need a tangible, physical expression of your love. I can read it all day long, I can pray, but that's just me talking. Sometimes I hear him too, but most of the time, God help me, it's this, that. You're doing all the talking. When you're going through trials and tribulation and pain, it's often very hard to be still and know that He is God. I had people telling me that all the time. Rob, just be still. I'm like, shut up! Don't tell me to be still. I'm having problems here. Finding ways to be still and to hear Him and to work on that relationship with Him. And frankly, look, I'm a guy. Yahuwah is a male. Yeshua is a male. We are His bride. That never computed for me. I'm like, I don't get that. The gerbil in my head jumped off the wheel. It ran too fast. It can't figure it out anymore. So I'm like, I don't get that. What does that look like? When you have the sexual and physical intimacy with another person, and that person's gone, and you have this gap in your life, and you're like, well, I'm supposed to have, let Yahuwah be my spouse. Well, what does that look like? How does that work? I'm not gay, what am I going to do here? But it was in that season of struggling and Father, my prayer became, because one of His names, Yahuwah has many names, right? And El Shaddai being one of them, my all sufficiency. And so I started praying, Father, this is cool and all, but it's not doing it for me, man. I need you to be my all sufficiency, to the point where I am fully satisfied in my relationship with you, that I'm not longing for the other relationship anymore. That's a difficult process. At least it was for me. It took a long time for me to get there. Until I got to the point where I was finally content to be alone, not with any other relationship, just me and Him. I had to get to that point before I was ready for a restored relationship. I truly believe that. And part of that deal was, with regard to forgiveness, I was talking about that forgiveness is for the one who is offended, not for the offender. As I learned that truth for myself, I began to struggle with something, because I was like, wait a minute. In my relationship with the Father, who's the offended and who's the offender? Well, I'm the offender. I'm the sinner, right? He's the offended. And I just learned that forgiveness is for the offended, not for the offender. So, wait a minute. If forgiveness is for the offended, not for the offender, in my relationship with the Father, I'm the offender, he's the offended. Wait, what? Wait, that means forgiveness is for God. Like, forgiveness is for him. And I understood the principle from... wow, dude, for me, like, that was one of the most, like, world-shattering revelations I think I've ever had in my life was, okay, I realized that forgiveness was for me, the offended, not for the offender, because they don't care. But in my relationship with him, he's the offended, I'm the offender, so forgiveness is for him. And I really struggled with that until I saw Isaiah 43:25. I'll put it up on the screen. Isaiah 43:25 explains that. I like the New Living Translation. They all say basically the same thing, but I like the way it's worded in the New Living here. I alone, will blot out your sins for my own sake and will never think of them again. Wow.
Yeah.
He says he blots out my sin as the offender for his own sake and will never again remember them. Look, I mean, everybody out there who's dealing with pain of whatever kind through an offense, and by the way, the bait of Satan's is taking an offense, right? The bait of Satan, he wants you to take an offense. Like, he'll do everything he can to get you to take an offense. Like, you literally have to take it. You have to choose to take the offense, internalize it, and let it turn to anger, right? I learned, like, I had taken the bait of Satan. I had taken the offense. I had internalized it, and it was burning me up. And I chose to forgive. Why? For my own sake. Remember, I was holding the chair, and I said, it's burning me up inside. You know, the trainer's like, you know, just like your hands are shaking, it's burning you up inside. Well, what do you think are, worldwide, we got, what, 8 billion people on the earth right now, something like that? 7 billion, whatever it is. All of us are the offenders. How hurt was God? Like, I know how hurt I was by the offenses that had happened to me, you know, over the course of my life. I know the pain that I felt. How hurt is Yahuwah? Wow. Like, he literally had to forgive for his own sake because billions of people were hurting him. I get upset when I got a few dozen people attacking me on Facebook. He has billions of people who have hurt him. And he's like, I got to forgive for my own sake. Now, I know how hard it was for me to forgive. How hard was it for Yahuwah to forgive? Look what he had to do. Go watch the Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
You know, to get close to depicting what it was really like. Like, when I think of the lengths that he went through to forgive me, to have peace with me, because the byproduct of forgiveness is peace. How could I not accept his forgiveness? Like, so then that begs the question, then, okay, we are told in Scripture we're to ask for forgiveness. Well, what does that do? Okay, think of it like this. The person who has hurt you, all right, think of the most pain you've ever endured at the hands of somebody else or the emotionally, result of somebody else's actions. You choose to forgive them. Why? So that you can have peace. So let's say you do that. You forgive the person who's hurt you the most in your life. You have peace now, right? It's all good. That doesn't excuse what they did. That doesn't let them off the hook. You have to set boundaries. If somebody's still hurting you, you got to get away from them. I get it. But imagine this. What if you forgive the person who hurt you the most and you get peace? You're good now. And then that person one day calls you up or knocks on your door, truly repentant, bowing down 7 times, let's say, asking for your forgiveness because they recognize that they hurt you. They recognize that they did something to you. Well, you've already got forgiveness, right? You've already forgiven. So that person coming to you and acknowledging their hurt, asking for forgiveness, what does that do? What does that create? That creates reconciliation. That's why we ask for forgiveness. He forgave all of us. Everybody listening to this broadcast right now has already been forgiven 2,000 years ago. It's done. He forgave us for his own sake. He's good. But what happens when we acknowledge our sin, when we bow down in repentance and say, Father, I know that I have sinned against you. Man, I'm sorry, Father. Forgive me. He says, I already did, bro. Welcome back. We ask for forgiveness for reconciliation. That's why we ask for forgiveness.
Yeah. Oh, that's a powerful word, Rolf, and it's so much needed. I think, like always, is the Ruach guiding us. I think it's important for all of us to keep it in mind on this time we are living. And I was checking the chat. People are going through difficulties all the time. We are going through difficulties all the time. So we need to wait in Yahuwah. We need to believe in Him and also prepare ourselves for what's coming. What's coming is not going to be easy, and that's why we need to be mentally, emotionally, physically, but most importantly, spiritually prepared in order to overcome and receive the blessing. One thing, Rob, just to finish my comment today, I want to share, and I think it's important considering what we are doing here in Virtual House. Just taking a look in the title in the screen, it says "Getting Back to Basics," and we know that time to time people is coming that is new, and it's important that we realize we need to walk in this path. And in this portion, I saw an important passage that is totally connected to this point. And in the chapter 33, verse 14, this is when, during the encounter between Esau and Jacob, Esau was pushing Jacob in order to follow him immediately with all his family. But Jacob said the following in the verse 14, "Please let my master go before my servant, and let me lead on slowly, according to the pace of the livestock that go before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my master in Seir." So, and actually, I think there's something else written over there. But what was the important point? It's basically, Jacob said that I need to lead this flock slowly at the proper pace. And there are multiple passages in the scripture that first, we are a newborn baby. And this is written, I have the passage here in the first letter of Peter, 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. It says that we are newborn babies. And what a baby needs? Baby needs milk. And, no matter that sometimes we talk here in Virtual House, more profound topics and more difficult topics, the whole purpose of getting back to basics is exactly that, that some people needs to have milk. And but we need to grow. We need to grow in knowledge. We need to mature in the way of Yahuwah in order to be able to not to receive milk anymore. Actually, in the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 1 and verse 2 also mention what are the foundations of the understanding of this way. It's talking about resurrection, immersion of waters, and so on, about salvation. So if people is new here, we need to understand that sometimes we are different. We're different to others. We need to go through our own pace, and this go along with the difficult situations we live in life. Those difficult situations are really trials and testing, in order for helping us to mature spiritually. But it's important we realize this concept that is written in this portion as well, especially for the new people that is joining the broadcast, that if you're new, go to your own pace. There are people around. We are here, and we have this amazing blessing to join every Shabbat in this virtual environment to share this time between us in order to help the new people. But we need to go through our own pace, little by little, slowly, until we are really mature to receive more than milk, to receive all the food and all the amazing food that Yahuwah has prepared for us. And we're going to receive all that food at the moment of the supper of the Lamb, the marriage supper of the Lamb. the Lamb at the moment of the second coming and the establishment of the kingdom of Yahuwah. That's going to be an amazing amazing moment. We're going to receive all the knowledge that we don't have now, and Yahushua himself is going to reveal to us. But I just wanted to share this point to finish my comment today, Rob, because I think especially for new people, this is so important, and it's quite easily reflected in these words. The flock sometimes needs to go slowly. And you know what we're discussing now about forgiveness, about to prepare ourselves to serve Yahuwah, is one of the most important things. Because we need to, as I was sharing earlier, we need to renew our mind. We need to become a new person. This is part of the most important aspect and end result of this walk.
Amen, man. That's a good point to end on, and that's why I really appreciate having you on with me, Juan Carlos, and Jake, and anybody else also. Look, I've been in the church my entire life, and as I know we have a very similar testimony.
Yeah.
Sheila and I, we went through a phase where it was like we were starving to death when it came to church, from like, I don't know, about 2007 till like 2010. So a good 3 years or so. Like everywhere we went, it felt like all we were getting was milk. It's like, I've got that my whole life. I got milk. I get it. I get milk. Like it felt like every church we were going to was a milkshake bar, and I wanted to go deeper. And I had a really deep desire for the meat of the word and going deeper, and so my ministry really became one of meat. But like you said, we have to realize there are many coming into this that are brand new, and that's why I create the Virtual House Church website and the Ephraim Awakening website, where that's all the stuff for new people primarily. It's all the usual questions that come up that we all had. I had the same questions. But keeping it level, keeping a balance here, this is why I need you guys. I'm prone to want to go into the deep end. I've had milk my whole life. I want to go deeper. But for the sake of new people that are coming here, and like you said, getting back to basics, that's what it says right above us. The milk is still important. It really is important. And, to whatever degree, we'll try to maybe give a balance of all of it, get a well-rounded meal where we have the milk, we have the meat and potatoes and everything for people also, because we don't want to scare anybody away, certainly. So hopefully you all were blessed by this Virtual House Church. I know I was. So we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. You want to do the Aaronic blessing for us again? What is that? Numbers? I should have this memorized by now.
Yeah, it's numbered. Let me try to do it in Hebrew, Rolf.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I hope I'm not going to make a mistake. But let's try to do it. It's numbered chapter 9, I think.
Is it 9? Nope.
No, it's chapter 6.
6. Upside down 9, huh?
Let me look for the
Gotcha.
Hebrew. Actually, in the meantime, I was sharing a link in the chat, Rob. I will recommend everybody to take a look in this. Because this is a ministry in Israel that they are speaking to Israelis people, Jewish people. They're presenting Mashiach. And I saw this video, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and it touched me so much that I will suggest everybody to take a look in that video. Because in the way that they're presented is a subtle way. They're talking about the great Jewish leader. So I would recommend everybody to take a look and to see. You are going to be blessed. Let me try to put the link again in the chat, so everybody can can take it. So here it is. So that's link in case you want to watch it. This is the Tree of Life Ministries, I think it's called. So take a look today, before finishing Shabbat, it's going to be a blessing. So let's go with the Aaronic blessing. Let's see if it's gonna work in Hebrew. It says the following: Yivarechacha Yahuwah veishmerecha, Yaer Yahuwah panavelecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Yahuwah panavelecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
The Lord bless thee and keep thee. Yahuwah make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.